The knock came at dawn. Not the polite knock of a neighbor or delivery person. This was the heavy, authoritative knock of people with badges and questions. I jolted awake in my Los Angeles apartment, my heart already racing before my eyes fully opened. Through the peephole, I saw dark uniforms and serious faces. Police officers. My door. My name is Tatum Morgan, I'm 28 and I work in banking. I've never broken a law in my life. My hands shook as I opened the door. The lead officer showed me a warrant without explaining much, just pushing past me into my small living room. We're looking for cash, he said flatly. Specifically, 5 million Nigerian nairas. I laughed nervously. That much money. I barely had 50,000 in my savings. But they weren't listening. They tore through my apartment like they owned it, opening drawers, checking closets. And then, in my bedroom closet behind my winter clothes, they found it. A duffel bag stuffed with cash. I'd never seen it before in my life. The interrogation room smelled like stale coffee and broken promises. A metal table separated me from two officers who looked at me like I was guilty before I'd said a single word. They slid documents across the table. Withdrawal slips, bank forms, account transfers. All with my signature. All forged. My hands trembled as I stared at the papers. These aren't real, I whispered. But they had my name. They had my account numbers. They had my handwriting perfectly copied. Your brother reported the theft, one officer said coldly. He said you stole from a businessman to cover gambling debts. The businessman filed a complaint. My brother, Tyler. The words didn't make sense. Tyler lived with me. He slept in my guest room. He ate my food. He used my Wi-Fi. And he reported me. The officer slid another document forward. It was a forged wire transfer authorization form, dated 3 weeks ago, with my signature at the bottom. I'd never seen it. I'd never signed it. But it looked exactly like my handwriting. Everything felt dreamlike and wrong. They released me 6 hours later. Not enough evidence yet, they said. But they warned me not to leave Los Angeles. Tyler picked me up from the police station, and I'd never been so grateful to see a familiar face. He hugged me tightly, whispering, I'm so sorry, Tatum. I don't know how your account got involved. Someone must have stolen your information. I cried into his shoulder, believing him completely. He drove me home, talking about how he'd help me prove my innocence, how we'd figure this out together. As we pulled into my apartment complex, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it quickly, and I caught a glimpse of the message before he shoved it in his pocket. Debt cleared once she's charged. My blood turned to ice. Tyler didn't notice my face change. He patted my hand and told me to get some rest. But I couldn't rest. I couldn't move. I sat there, staring at nothing, finally understanding the truth. Weeks earlier, Tyler had shown up at my door with a story. He'd lost his job, he said. Needed a place to stay temporarily. Our mother had called me beforehand, begging me to help him. He's going through a rough patch, she'd said. Family helps family. So I'd said yes. I'd given him the guest room. I'd told him to stay as long as he needed. But within days, I noticed changes in him. He started disappearing at night, coming home smelling like cigarettes and alcohol. His eyes had a wild, desperate look I'd never seen before. I asked him about his job search. He'd wave me off, saying he had things under control. But he didn't. I realize now that he was drowning in gambling debts. The kind of debts that men with broken fingers come to collect. And instead of asking me for help, he'd decided to destroy me. My mother called the day after my release. Tatum, what have you done? She demanded, not even saying hello. I felt my chest tighten. Mom, I didn't do anything. Tyler framed me. There was silence on the other end. Then she said, Tyler came to me, devastated. He said you were in trouble with dangerous people. He said you stole money to pay off debts. She believed him. My own mother believed my brother's lies over my truth. I raised you better than this, she continued, her voice sharp as broken glass. To steal. To lie. I'm ashamed of you. I tried to explain, but she hung up on me. That same day, I discovered something while changing my sheets. My bank card was missing from my purse. The one I always kept at the bottom, in a small pocket. Tyler must have slipped it out. How many times had he taken it? How much had he stolen? My hands shook as I called my bank. The representative confirmed suspicious activity on my account. Transactions at casinos, jewelry stores, and restaurants. All within the last 2 months. All without my knowledge or permission. I went to work the next day because I didn't know what else to do. My boss, Mr. Harrison, called me into his office before I even reached my desk. He looked uncomfortable. Tatum, we need to talk about some financial discrepancies. My stomach dropped. What discrepancies? I asked, though I already knew. Mr. Harrison opened a file on his computer. There were unusual transactions from my accounts. Wire transfers to offshore accounts. Withdrawals that didn't match my normal patterns. We conduct audits regularly, he said carefully. This flagged some concerns. HR is opening an investigation. I felt the walls closing in. My job. My reputation. Everything Tyler had touched, he'd poisoned. I sat across from my boss, trying to explain, trying to make him understand that I was the victim here. But I could see doubt in his eyes. In this world, accusations stick like mud, even when they're lies. That night I sat at my computer and started digging. I opened my bank statements going back 6 months. Then I searched for accounts I didn't recognize. Within an hour I found 3. All with my name. All with my social security number. All created without my permission. One account had received 8 million Nigerian nairas in transfers. Another had paid out to a casino in Malibu. A third had sent money to a jewelry store I'd never been to. Every transaction was carefully documented. Every one led to Tyler. I screenshotted everything. I printed it all. And then I discovered something that made my breath catch. All the delivery addresses for the forged documents went to a P.O. box. The P.O. box was registered under a nickname. T-Money. Tyler's gambling nickname. I'd overheard him talking about it once when he was on the phone late at night, not realizing I could hear. He thought he was so clever. But he'd made a mistake. Small one. But enough. The voicemail came at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. The voice was rough and angry, with an accent I couldn't place. Tyler, this is Vinny. You owe me 2.3 million Nigerian nairas. The deadline was last week. I'm not a patient man. My heart hammered in my chest. This was the man Tyler owed money to. This was the man he was willing to sacrifice me for. I saved the voicemail. I played it 3 times to make sure I had every detail. And then, the next evening, I heard Tyler talking to someone outside my apartment door. I pressed my ear against the glass. It was Vinny. I could hear his voice, lower now, almost friendly. The girl's taking the fall, he asked. Tyler laughed. That laugh. I'd heard it so many times, but never like this. Cold. Calculated. Evil. She's perfect, Tyler said. Police will charge her. Insurance will pay out. We're done. My brother had sold me to a criminal to pay his gambling debts. And he was proud of it. I confronted him that night. I couldn't help myself. Tyler was sitting in the living room, eating my food, watching my television, living my life. I heard you talking to Vinny, I said, my voice shaking with anger. Tyler's face went pale. He stood up slowly. Tatum, you don't understand. It's complicated. I laughed bitterly. Complicated. You framed me for 5 million Nigerian nairas. You stole my identity. You're letting me go to prison so you can pay off your gambling debts. He tried to grab my arm. Please just listen. I can explain. But I pulled away. I wanted to hit him. I wanted to scream. Instead, I asked him to leave. He refused. This is my home too, he said. Mom sent me here. So I told him to stay in his room. I told him I'd handle it. And that night while he slept, I snuck into his room. I needed evidence. Real evidence. something that would prove everything. I found a duffel bag under his bed. The same one the police had found in my closet. It was empty now, but inside the pocket was a receipt from the casino, dated 2 days before my arrest. Signed by Tyler. Proof he'd been there. The next morning, Tyler found me in the kitchen. His eyes were red from crying. "Tatum, please," he begged. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to go this far." I didn't respond. I just stared at him. He looked small and pathetic, not like my big brother anymore. He looked like a stranger. He tried to touch my arm, but I pulled away. "Don't," I said coldly. "Don't touch me." He stood there, his hands shaking, tears streaming down his face. Part of me wanted to believe he was genuinely sorry. But I couldn't. Not after everything. Not after knowing he'd done this intentionally, planned it, executed it perfectly. His tears were just another performance. I turned and left him standing there. Later that day, my mother called again. "Your brother tells me you're accusing him of framing you," she said coldly. "That's a serious accusation, Tatum. Have you considered that you're just trying to blame him for your own mistakes?" I felt something break inside me. She believed him. My own mother. "Mom," I said quietly, "I have evidence. Real evidence. But you wouldn't believe it anyway. You've already made your choice." Hung up the phone. That was the day I decided to stop asking for help and take matters into my own hands. Alone in my apartment, surrounded by printed bank statements and forged documents, I made a plan. I would gather everything. I would build an unbreakable case. And I would destroy my brother the same way he'd tried to destroy me. But I would do it with intelligence. I would do it with evidence. I would do it legally. I spent 3 days compiling every piece of evidence. Bank statements, email records, text messages, casino receipts, the voicemail from Vinny. I organized it all chronologically, creating a timeline that was impossible to ignore. I printed it, color-coded it, and put it in a folder. Then I went back through Tyler's text messages on my cloud backup. He'd logged into my phone once to check something, and his account had automatically synced. I found conversations where he bragged about the setup. "Tatum is such an idiot," one message read. "I'm playing her so good. She has no idea what's happening. By next month, she'll be in prison." His friends responded with enthusiasm. One wrote, "That's brilliant, man. Get that money and run." Another said, "Your sister doesn't know what hit her." I saved every message. But then I found something even better. A document on my laptop that Tyler had tried to delete. A fake employment letter dated 6 months ago. It had his fingerprints on it. Literally. I could see the smudges. This document proved premeditation. He'd planned this from the beginning, before he even moved in. I also found a notebook hidden under his mattress. Page after page of my signature, all getting progressively better. He'd spent weeks studying how I signed my name. There was a date written on the first page. 8 months ago. Months. That was how long he'd been planning this. Since before he even asked to move in. That realization made me feel sick. This wasn't spontaneous. This was calculated cruelty. I hired a private investigator. I had to use my credit card because my bank accounts were frozen, but it was worth every dollar. His name was Cameron and he was thorough. Within a week, he'd obtained security footage from my apartment building. The video showed Tyler entering with the duffel bag. The video showed him leaving it in my closet. The video had timestamps and dates that matched perfectly with the police report. I had him also pull footage from the bank where the withdrawal slips had been forged. Tyler was on tape, using a fake ID to access my account. The woman at the bank remembered him because he'd been so nervous. He'd kept dropping things. He'd asked her questions about signature verification. He'd been gathering information. All of this on video. All of this dated weeks before my arrest. I also obtained the casino surveillance footage through Cameron's connections. There was Tyler, clear as day, sitting at a high-stakes poker table, drinking expensive champagne, throwing around money like it grew on trees. And there, in 3 different frames, was me. Except it wasn't me. It was a woman who looked vaguely like me. A woman I'd never seen before. A woman Tyler had apparently paid to pose as me to establish a pattern of behavior at the casino. I hired a lawyer named Bradley Houston. He was expensive but the best. When I showed him everything, he went very quiet. He read through the evidence slowly, methodically. "Tatum, this is overwhelming," he said. "This is fraud, conspiracy, and attempted framing." He nodded. "What should I do?" Bradley leaned back. "Nothing for now. You don't confront your brother. You don't contact the police. You wait. You let him think he's winning, then he'll make mistakes. And we strike with everything at once." I didn't like waiting, but Bradley's strategy made sense. He pulled out a notepad. "Here's the plan," he said. "First, we document everything we have. Second, we let Tyler feel comfortable. Third, we gather more evidence. Fourth, we present it all at once. By the time the police move on him, he won't know what hit him." Bradley's calm confidence steadied me. This man had done this before. He knew how to win. "We're going to destroy him," he said. "But we're going to do it right. We're going to do it legally. And we're going to make sure he never hurts anyone else again." For the first time since this nightmare started, I felt like I had a real chance. 2 weeks later, I told Tyler I forgave him. "I understand you were desperate," I said. "Help me clear my name." Tyler's face lit up with relief. He hugged me. "I knew you'd understand. We're family." That night he went out. Later, Cameron told me he'd been talking to Vinny, saying, "She's finally cracking. She's going to help me cover this up. Everything's working perfectly." Felt sick. Even my forgiveness was part of the con. He'd counted on me being too kind to hold a grudge. He'd manipulated me once again. But this time I was ready. I'd learned his game. That night, I set up a recording device that Cameron had provided. It was all legal, I was on the calls, and we had his consent since he was calling me. Everything I recorded could be used in court. Over the next 3 days, I made sure Tyler called me multiple times. Each time, I asked him carefully crafted questions about what had happened. Each time he lied. Each time I recorded it. By the end of the week, I had hours of audio evidence of Tyler confessing to crimes he thought he'd get away with. His own voice. His own words. His own damning admissions. A man approached me at work a week later. He introduced himself as Vinny and asked to talk somewhere private. I took him to a coffee shop. "Tatum," he said, "your brother and I did business. He used your identity to settle a debt." He slid an envelope across the table. Inside was a receipt. A 5 million Nigerian nairas payment from my account. But the signature was Tyler's. "Your brother signed your name," Vinny said. "I'm telling you this because I respect honest people. Your brother is not honest. If you cooperate, things will be easier for you." That receipt was the proof I needed. With Bradley's help, I opened every account created under my name. There were 7. All linked to a P.O. box. All showing massive transactions to casinos across Los Angeles and Las Vegas. Every detail led back to Tyler. More importantly, I discovered a hidden joint account. My name and Tyler's name both on the signature card. I'd never signed anything. The balance showed over 12 million Nigerian nairas had flowed through it in 3 months. All going to the Diamond Crown Casino. Cameron pulled the security footage from the bank. Tyler was on camera, forging my signature on the joint account paperwork. He'd even practiced my signature multiple times on a notepad before filling out the form. It was all there. Bradley reviewed it and nodded. "This is ironclad." I also discovered emails Tyler had sent to casino managers. In one email he wrote, "My sister doesn't know about this account and she never will. Once the debt is cleared, I'll close it down. She'll never find out." Another email showed him requesting high-limit access using my identity. "My sister is a high-net-worth individual," he'd written, lying through his teeth. "We want to establish a VIP status for our joint account." The casino manager had responded positively, completely fooled by Tyler's con. These emails proved intent. They proved he'd planned this entire scheme from the beginning. I printed everything and organized it all into folders, color-coded by date, cross-referenced with bank statements, annotated with my own notes. This was going to be irrefutable. The casino manager was surprisingly cooperative. When Cameron approached him with a police letter, he was eager to help. He provided footage of Tyler at the casino, sometimes alone, sometimes with Vinny. But the most damaging footage was from 3 weeks ago. Tyler sat at a private table, bragging to his friends while a server poured champagne. "Tatum is such an idiot," he was saying. "She has no idea what's happening. By next month, she'll be in prison, and I'll be free of all my debts." His friends laughed. One of them raised a glass. "To using family," he said. Tyler clinked glasses with him, still smiling, still bragging. That video was worth everything. When Bradley saw it, he stood up. "We're ready," he said simply. "The police called me on a Friday. Not to interrogate, not to arrest, but to ask for clarification. There are inconsistencies in your brother's statement," the officer said. My heart soared. This was the moment. I went to the police station with Bradley. I showed them the casino footage, the forged documents, and played the voicemail from Vinny. I explained the timeline step by step, everything Tyler had done to frame me. Detective Williams listened to everything carefully, taking notes. "Your brother tried to alter his original statement," she said. "He contradicted himself completely. That raised red flags. And we found you'd already done the digging for us." He pulled out a file. Inside were emails Tyler had sent to his friend Kevin. In one, Tyler wrote, "The cops are getting suspicious. I need to change my story. If I say I saw Tatum at the casino with me, they might believe that she was involved in the whole thing. Then it's not all on me." Detective Williams looked at me with something close to pity. "Your brother was trying to sell you out even more," she said. "He was going to claim you were a willing participant in the fraud. If we hadn't caught these inconsistencies, he might have succeeded. But thanks to you, we have everything we need to put him away for a very long time." Tyler showed up at my apartment on a Saturday morning. He was trembling, his face pale, his eyes wild with panic. "Tatum, I need your help," he said, pushing past me into the living room. "Vinny is after me. He says I didn't complete the setup. He says you didn't go to prison. He's threatening to hurt me. I need money. I need to disappear. Please." I stared at him. This man who destroyed my reputation, stolen my identity, framed me for a crime I didn't commit. This man was now begging me for help. "I can't help you," I said quietly. He grabbed my arm. "Please, Tatum. I'm your brother. I made a mistake. I was desperate. I didn't mean to hurt you. Please." Something inside me broke. Pulled out my phone. I had Bradley on speed dial. "It's time," I said simply. Then I looked at my brother. "You need to sit down and be quiet. The police are on their way." Tyler tried to run. He actually thought he could make it to the door and escape. But I was faster. I blocked him. "You don't get to run," I said, my voice cold. "You don't get to escape this. You did this to me. You're going to face it." He lunged toward the window. I screamed. Cameron, who'd been waiting outside, heard me and came through the door. He grabbed Tyler and held him until the police arrived. Detective Williams and her team took him into custody right there in my living room. As they were putting handcuffs on him, I pressed record on my phone. I needed this on tape. As they let him out, I asked him one question. "Why, Tyler? Why would you do this to me?" And he laughed. Actually laughed. Even as the police were taking him away, even as his life was falling apart, he laughed. "Because you're easy," he said. "You always have been. You always believed me. You always helped me. You were the perfect target, Tatum." That laugh, that admission, it was all recorded. Perfect. Bradley received a call from the district attorney the following Monday. Tyler had tried to flee the state on Sunday. He'd somehow made bail, and he'd driven to the bus station in San Francisco with a fake ID and a one-way ticket to Nevada. But the police were monitoring him. Detective Williams had seen it coming. They'd picked him up at the bus station before he could board. During interrogation, Tyler had panicked. He tried to make a deal. He'd offered to testify against Vinny if they'd go easy on him. The DA wasn't interested in making deals. Because in his panic, Tyler had forgotten something crucial. He'd rushed to make a forged form that contradicted his earlier police statement. In his desperation, he'd signed it. His real signature. His real handwriting. A document that proved he'd been lying all along, that he'd been covering for himself, that he'd been trying to manipulate the investigation. That forged form was in his own handwriting. It was exactly what the DA needed. "Your case is closed," Bradley told me over the phone. "Officially, they're not charging you with anything. But they're charging your brother with fraud, identity theft, conspiracy, forgery, and attempted frame-up. He's looking at serious prison time. And Tatum. They're also charging him based on the recorded phone calls. He confessed to multiple crimes on those recordings. This is going to be even worse for him than we thought." I felt a mix of emotions. Relief. Satisfaction. But also a strange sadness that it had come to this. My own brother. But he'd destroyed himself. I just provided the evidence. I didn't attend Tyler's arrest at the bus station. Cameron sent me a photo. Tyler, handcuffed, being led away by Detective Williams. His face was shocked. He couldn't believe his own sister had turned him in. He'd thought I was too good-natured to fight back. He'd thought I'd eventually accept the charges to protect him. He'd underestimated me. That photo became my strength. Every time I wanted to doubt myself, every time I wondered if I'd done the right thing, I looked at that photo and knew. I'd done exactly what I needed to do. I made copies of that photo. I kept one in my desk at work. Kept one on my phone. I kept one in my apartment. Because I needed to remember. I needed to remember what it felt like when someone you love betrays you completely. I needed to remember what it took to stand up for yourself. I needed to remember that sometimes the only way to win is to be stronger, smarter, and more prepared than your enemy. And Tyler had been my enemy. Maybe he was my brother, but he was also my enemy. And I had defeated him. The trial lasted 6 weeks. Tyler sat in the courtroom day after day. His lawyer trying every angle. But there was no doubt. The evidence was overwhelming. The security footage was crystal clear. His own admissions on the casino tape were damning. Vinny testified against him, confirming the debt and Tyler's desperation to frame me. The casino manager testified about Tyler's behavior and spending. Multiple bank employees testified about the forged documents. When the judge finally delivered the verdict, she didn't mince words. "You are clearly a manipulative and calculated individual," she said to Tyler. "You systematically defrauded your own sister. You involved criminals. You forged documents. You tried to make her a scapegoat for your own failures and addictions. I'm sentencing you to 8 years in prison." Tyler didn't cry. He didn't beg. He just sat there staring at nothing. His lawyer whispered something in his ear, but Tyler didn't respond. He seemed to have mentally checked out, finally understanding that his con had completely failed. As they led him away in handcuffs, he looked at me. He whispered, "You won." And then he was gone. My mother called me the day after the verdict. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. "Tatum, I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I believed him. I didn't believe you. I'm so ashamed. Please forgive me." I let her cry for a while. I didn't say anything. When she finally calmed down, I said, "Mom, forgiveness isn't something I can give you right now. What you did hurt me. You chose him over me without even listening to my side. That's something you're going to have to live with." She tried to apologize again, but I ended the call. I wasn't ready to forgive her. Maybe I never would be. My job called me back 2 days later. They'd reopened my employment case after reviewing the new evidence. The investigation cleared me completely. They offered me my position back, plus a promotion and a raise. HR apologized for not believing me. My boss apologized personally. But the damage was done. I'd lost months of my life. I'd lost my peace. I'd lost my family. No amount of promotion could undo that. A year later, I was in a completely different place. My credit had been restored. My name had been cleared. Tyler was in federal prison, serving his 8-year sentence. And I'd started a non-profit organization helping women recognize and protect themselves against financial exploitation and identity theft. I'd been through the worst and come out the other side. I speak at events, tell my story. I help other women understand the signs of manipulation and fraud. One day, I received a letter from Tyler. Tatum, it said. I don't expect you to forgive me. I destroyed everything. I destroyed you. I destroyed myself. I deserve to be here. I see that now. Hope you're happy. I hope you're living the life you deserved. And I hope you know that I finally understand what I did was unforgivable. Sincerely, Tyler. I read it 3 times. I didn't cry. Just a cold understanding that revenge isn't about hurting someone back. It's about letting their own lies bury them. I had survived. And that was enough.